Play.
Great! You are here, which means you take your business seriously. So, let's answer the question, how much to charge as a videographer? Now, if you got some experience already, you know that this question is like asking what's the price of a house or a car. Video has so many variables and every little thing affects the end price. That being said, I feel like I have to give you some point of reference. So I'll show you how much I charge for basic videos and some more complex ones. A small disclaimer though, my prices might differ a bit from yours because I live in Israel, where we use Israeli shekels, but what's funny is I found out that in the US, prices are mostly the same in numbers, but just currency is different. So for example, I'll charge 3,500 shekels for a simple 3-minute music video, which is probably $3,500 in the US. So you get the idea. That simple music video is priced that way because I do everything on my own. From writing a concept, building the shooting list, filming myself, editing myself, you get the picture. On the other hand, there are the more complex projects where I can't do everything on my own and I have to bring extra staff. For example, in my storytelling videos, which is just a fancy way of saying testimonials, I have 1 to 2 days of shooting, including full script writing, hiring a producer, a sound technician, videographer, production assistant, hair and makeup artist, and so on. I'll charge anywhere from 25 to 45,000 shekels, depends on complexity. Now I gotta tell you something. After doing this for so long, I came to the conclusion that most of the time, the margins I make for small projects are way better money-wise and time-wise than the bigger ones. So don't think that bigger is better all the time. Try to find out what makes you happy the most and just go with it. Now, let's get into the 4-stage pricing system. Do you understand why it's so important to even have a system? When you work with an organized system like all successful business do, you'll get to know your numbers rather than just throwing them up in the air. You'll attract the type of clients you want and not just every guy that steps in your door and wants a video for $100. And eventually, all of this will enable you to raise your prices. Now, let's get into the actual system. So, stage number 1, get a budget from the client. Don't think they don't have one in mind. They'll tell you they don't, but they know roughly. Is it 500 or is it 500,000? Where is it? Where are we at? The way I tackle this in meetings goes something like this. I'll usually go, okay, so what's your budget? And I swear, like 95% of the time, they'll say, oh, we don't know. We don't have a budget. We just need to know how much it costs. Then I'll say, well, do we need to close the streets, rent a chopper, hire a stunt double, blow up 6 cars? And then they'll say, no. This is way too big. We don't need all that. We don't have that kind of budget. Okay, so what is your budget? And then you'll probably get something. Now, if that doesn't work, one of my best method of understanding where to go with this is to try and ask them for a reference video they like. So that way, you'll know what they're aiming for. Based on that video, you should have a rough estimate of the cost involved. If you don't know, take that video reference and get a quote from like 2 to 3 videographers in your area. Don't tell them your name. That way, you get the quote. You get the idea. Remember guys, this is a learning process. Don't expect yourself to do everything perfect. Like I am right now. You see I'm a bit little. Stage 2, setting a GH point. Now, you probably ask yourself, what the hell is a GH point? A GH point is the lowest possible price from which you'll do the job. Just ask yourself, am I willing to do this video shoot working 3 days for only $1,000? Hell no. How about 1,200? No? Okay. How about 1,500? Okay, that seems okay. And there you have it, your GH point. Remember, it's not your actual price quote. Always make sure you stay profitable. Now, sometimes profitable doesn't necessarily translate into cash. I sometimes work for less or even free if I think the job or client can push my business to the next level. Stage 3, the budget. So, calculating all the numbers, this is the most time consuming but also the most important stage. The detailed budget is for you and you only. And from that, you will make the quote for the client. In your detailed budget, you realistically list all your expenses. Be as precise as possible. Nothing is blown out of proportion here. From equipment rentals to buying licensed music and hiring staff, you structure your quote from your detailed budget. The client doesn't need to see this, but it's essential for you to know in order for your pricing to be consistent. So to sum it up, you have two things. Two things. The budget, that's for you, and the quote for the client. This is an Excel sheet, this is a document. Can you see my hand? Now, let's dive in and see what we have in the template. At the top, you can see the project name. Then we have some details for the client and the date. Then we have all the prices for the different items. And at the very bottom, we have the summary. Let's go over each one. So everything is calculated based on a rate and a unit. Now a unit can be an hour, days, weeks, or fixed. You see, for research is something you do and you put in time. So let's say you take 100 an hour, that's your rate, and you're gonna put 10 hours, right? It's gonna be $1,000. Let's take something that is fixed. Let's say you rented a camera and you know it's for a day, right? So a unit is gonna be 1 day and it's gonna be fixed price. And that price is gonna be, I don't know, let's say $200 a camera a day. So you get the idea. Now, I wanna keep it simple because at the end you'll see the summary and you'll get the idea of how everything is calculated. So pre-production cost is everything regarding what comes before the actual shooting day. So, research, storyboard, producer, creative thinking, all of that. Next, we have the shooting day costs, which is everything that's inside the actual shooting day, like location fees, transportation, food and everything, permits, staff. So producer, director, DOP, which is director of photography. Usually it's you. Camera assistant, drone operator, again, probably you. Audio operator, lighting operator, equipment rentals. Guys, I'm really big on not buying until you absolutely have to. So for me, everything I did when I started was rental. Next up is post-production cost. Basically all editing stuff. Offline, which is what we do in just editing rough cuts, and online, which is all the After Effects and motion graphics and stuff like that. Stock music, make sure it's licensed. By the way, guys, stock music search. You see this thing? The reason I put it here is because I realized after doing this for so long that I'm putting so much time in looking for the right track because it's so important. But then I realized I'm never pricing this. So I'm actually losing money when I'm looking for 5 or 10 hours for the right track. Last one is overhead expenses, insurance. I do it only if I have to. Meetings and communications. Yes, guys, price that thing. You're going for an hour meeting with a client, price that, put it in. You're gonna talk with him over the course of 1 or 2 weeks for, 1 hour. That's 1 hour of your time, dude. Put it in. The last thing is production cost summary. So, estimated production cost is a summary of all the estimate costs. And don't worry, it's all automatically. You don't have to do anything by yourself. Then we have 5% buffer. Now, what's a 5% buffer? A 5% buffer is everything that you didn't take into account. Guys, every production, no matter how big or small it is, almost all the time something goes wrong. Somebody got sick, you forgot to take extra lens, buy extra food, tons of stuff happening. A 5% is kind of a rule of thumb. Then we have the service fee. Service fee is the actual profit you want to make off this project. I put here 40%, and this 40% is going to calculate over everything, including the buffer. Nowadays, I'm aiming for more like 60%, but when I was just starting out, I was around 30 to 40. Then you have the total price, which is calculating everything plus the 40%. So it's $1,000 plus $50 On top of that 40%, it's $1,470. Now again, this is not including tax. So what you're gonna do now, after you're done doing all the budget, you're gonna take this total number and put it in the price quote. Stage 4, writing the quote. Now this video requires a whole video of itself, but I'll go with you over the basics. I have to. This is where it all comes together. You take the total price we got from the cost summary and you put it into a beautiful document. This document needs to include the next core things. Over here you can see a headline, then the client's name, a date, a general description of the job, a list of services and products. I usually don't put prices here, the actual price at the end, the actual price quote, a place to sign for the customer, and at the bottom I'll put all the legal issues. Don't get scared from the last one. When I started, I didn't have any legal issues attached to my quotes, but the basic stuff you need to include, and you don't need a lawyer for that, are payments. For example, I charge 40% down payment, and then the rest 60% is when I give the client the actual video. Revisions, so how many revisions do you give them, and what's the hourly editing costs once they pass that. I personally give 2 rounds of revisions, and after that I'm charging by the hour. You can base your own legal document from quote you get or just off the internet. These are pretty basic stuff. Now, as I said, I don't want to make this video too long. I'm only explaining the basics. I'll probably make a whole video about how to write a quote in the future, so just stay tuned to my emails. I personally price a bit higher than my competitors, not because I'm so better than them, because a lot of time this correlates with high value products. And also, I want to avoid clients that are looking for the best video and the lowest prices. I think you know what I'm talking about. But if you're just starting out, I suggest going for what they call market penetration price, a lower price than the market. Get as many projects that you can and start building a portfolio. Later on, when you have built your portfolio and name, you can start raising your prices. So there you go, guys, my four stage pricing system. Now, remember, this takes time to master, so don't get frustrated if clients don't buy from you right away. Hope you got some real value out of this, and if you have any further question, feel free to email me or send me a message on my Instagram. I'll put a link down below. I'm gonna spam you so much. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, bye.